name is Karina, sister, and we're reading Saturnastra Karina. This is lesson 4, part 1, Utopias and other nonsense. A nice week passed before the class was assembled. Marduke was hearing from the observer that his popularity was dropping like crazy. The bored army people had been wandering about, and as a result they were starting to terrorize the locals whenever they were supposed to protect. And after playing games a bit, Marduke came up with a brilliant idea. He would steal from the neighbors something crazy and useless, but visually appealing. In doing so, he would give his army something to do. The only loss that Marduke was in, let me see. Over the course of 200 years, shackles have been. Originally, Bersamin had created slavery in order to punish other species for the crimes that they had done, like genocide and whatnot. Over the course of 200 years, he had added shackles to other species, until even the humans had to wear them as well. This was one of the areas that Bersamin had asked to fix before passing the torch. Marduke, having descended from slave people, took this task of ending slavery very seriously. It was a hard task, but not an impossible. Where there was a will, there was always a way. The item Marduke felt like stealing belonged to the Unhais. They had built an elaborate dragon tower for his brother Ahi, who never used it. It was made using slave labor, and it was garish and a bit of an eyesore. It should have been demolished years ago, but the current Unhai was a bit frugal with his expenses. One day the dragon riders arrived, and they took the dragon, making a big roar, and the gates were blown open, and the tower was cemented and brought back to Veragerung without a drop of blood being spilled. It was frankly falling apart even before them. The new Duke Unhai had no interest in following his father's footsteps. He was a lazy sort of fellow, so he allowed for Marduke to take the crumbling tower without offering any protestation. The only person truly interested in ruling was his daughter, who swore vengeance on Veragerung for stealing a tower that they had been planning to demolish. She had intended a mountain of retaliation, but the guards were suffering from battle fatigue, or so they claimed. And nobody was willing to go to war over a stupid decrepit tower that nobody wanted. The tower was placed in the outskirts of Veragerung that was slowly expanding. The city was always expanding outward. During the day when the classes resumed, there were ladies going about doing a survey as to what to do with the new tower. The soldiers were happy for getting some much-needed exercises. They were marching and parading their victory. This has given the people much reason to celebrate, though the students of the schools of peace used to giggle as soon as the soldiers turned their back. They guessed that the entire mission was just a waste of time and something to raise their self-esteem or to give them something to do, now that they were spending their time idly because there was no need for them to go to war. Though Marduke would never admit it. Time, bro?
11 minutes.
Marduke was famous among his family members for tricking people into mindless tasks. In the end, they could not even get mad because his trickery had managed to make them feel like they had a purpose in their life. The people from Marduke's world tended to suffer from a superhero conflict, and they could not live happily unless they felt that they were doing something big, something important. This trend overall came and went, and with the last two wars, Marduke and his family were finally engaging in the delectable arts of peace. Throughout the week, Karina had been brainstorming her next class. She wanted to keep it nice and fresh. In the end, she got herself some chalkboards from her home world. They were useful learning tools, and the occult nature allowed them to exist in the world of Saturnastra. Anything too technological was either exiled or buried, if it still served a vital purpose of storage. From time to time, some of the locals found those buried structures, and they were in for a big surprise. Still, from time to time, ancient things that nobody even knew about, from the time that Saturn was still young, was discovered. And then, the one who managed the lower life of Saturnastra was the one who was surprised. The sharpest Karina tools were tools for teaching little children, so she felt that they wouldn't make a big deal about it. She wore a golden hat with a see-through veil and a flower past her head. The dress was white and nylon, and it was tied on top. And it had a bulbous skirt. Was the fashion of the day. The front had two golden lights, and the center a white line decorated with buttons. The top of it was red and the interior linen was red. It too had a golden embroidered pattern for decoration and a large blue ribbon over the top over the lung. The ribbon was held in place by a kitty cat brush. She painted her lips a dark crimson, which made her hair look even darker. When Karina entered the school, she saw a distraught sailor. He was with his child, complaining to Begonia. Her dad monarchy from time to time would growl at the sailor. The conversation was interrupted by Karina, who asked, "What's the matter? Time, bro?"
8 minutes.
What is that, Mom Begonia? There is a thief in this school. Really, like a pickpocket, asked Karina. No, said the sailor. The sneak picks the locks during class and escapes with all of the valuables. I have an idea on how to catch this fellow, but I can't say for he might be listening, said Karina, looking about suspiciously. There were children passing by, and some were trying to hide their thoughts from Karina. They guessed that, like her brother, she was a mind reader, and so they would shifted their brains into things that the star would made them look benign and innocent whenever she was nearby. Karina returned home quickly, and she brought Vinka with her. Vinka the mimic, remember? The plan was simple, and all that they had to do was just play the waiting game. To pay the thief, Karina employed Lucian, a rich merchant's son. He was bound to have a lot of goodies. He placed him inside the decoy locker, known as Vidkan, and he placed inside a gold watch. With the trusted Lucian went with Karina to his class. This little thief incident caused Karina and Lucia to arrive late to class. Karina had not gone there, and neither had Babiso, who had taken his wife to the doctor because the child was having a crying fit. Miko was just starting to get up while Janos was sitting there patiently waiting for Karina to return. Beside him was a familiar face. After scanning her memory for a bit, Karina remembered that the girl was called Suntaria. She had just returned from one of her missions and had decided to go to class with Janos to see what all the fuss was about. At least this was the official excuse. When she saw Karina enter in her pretty dress, Suntaria couldn't help but frown. Indecency in Veragerung was a complicated business, and it only applied to civilians. Suntaria was dressed like a nobleman, with the short nylon pants and the ornamental red shirt and white stripe. All soldiers in Veragerung were considered men, even if they were women. Even the rest of men. As with Moses, it takes time for people to get used to newfound freedoms and expectations. More than anything, Suntaria, as it is common amongst most humans, felt a bit of envy at Karina's legs that were visible through her skirt. Janos smiled when he saw Karina enter, but his eyes saddened when he turned his gaze to Lucian. He opened his mouth to speak, but Suntaria stole the words right out of his mouth. She asked, "Why are you late?" "There's a thief in the school, and I was laying a trap for him with Lucian's help," explained Karina. "Time, bro?"
2 minutes.
"A thief, you say? I am quite surprised indeed. One never hears of such things happening in the army," said Suntaria. "That is because Kano has always kept a tight leash over his cadets," said Karina. "So what is today's class? Another stupid, boring story or more reading? You could try an exam or something, maybe an essay, some group projects," asked Suntaria, sneering. "No, I brought some chalkboards and I want my students to stare at them for the entire duration of the class, and when they're done with it, I will show the classroom what each of you came out with," said Karina, handing Suntaria a blank chalkboard. Suntaria raised an eyebrow as she stared into the blank chalkboard. The boy started making a shalky sound, like when you write in the board.
Yeah.
which made Suntara jump back and throw the board as if she was a snake or an animal. The board smacked Karina in the back of the head, and as she was handing his board to Miko, who was eating on the other side of the classroom, blushing, Suntara said, "Oopsie, you're lucky it was indeed an accident, otherwise I would have smacked your head with his board 13 times," said Karina. "Why 13?" asked Lucian, sitting down. "Why do you want to know?" asked Karina. "Just curious," said Lucian. "If you must know, it is a family thing. When Mother was mom, she used to fight with her brother all the time, and to put an end to the pointless fighting, it was decided that if one struck another, the victim had the right to punch the offender 13 times without the offender fighting back. The offender was then allowed to do the same, and after 3 hours of this, the fighting ended for good." Time, bro?
4 minutes.
Like, you punch one once, and then he gets to punch you 13 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And then you get to punch 13 times for every punch that you received.
And then 13 times 30. And then the other one 13 times 30. And it just got very painful after a while. This tradition was passed on to us, so I was discouraged from doing violence to any of my family members, said Karina. "Why would you want to do violence unto your brother?" asked Miko. "To release stress. Who cares, really? Sometimes a simple retaliation becomes a compulsory behavior that is done over and over, and eventually the reasons to do violence unto your brother no longer matter. It is the act itself which is its own recompense, and only if both parties are winning can it truly end for good," explained Karina. Time?
3 minutes and 19 seconds.
While Karina said gave Suntara then plenty to think about. For years she had a rivalry with her brother. She couldn't help remember how or why this rivalry had even started. It had gotten to such a point that they could not be in the same room together. It had not always been that way, but she had allowed it to degrade over the years, and whenever her brother had tried to make peace, her pride had gotten in the way, and now her brother had stopped trying. It almost seemed to her that he considered her an enemy. Karina noticed that Suntara was thinking sad thoughts, and to break the chain of thought, Karina said, "Well, about these chalkboards. They were pretty common in my old school. And when you hold this magical chalkboard, you will see your thoughts. It is a good visual tool for focusing your thoughts and seeing if you are a scatterbrain. Do you guys want to play with it?" "Sure," said Lucian, reaching for the board that Karina had handed him. Janos received his board, and it was soon making chalky sounds. Chalky sounds, The board paints itself while making chalk sounds. Suntara received her board, and the board showed a random scenes of her childhood. A good number were fabricated memories, as the brain's filing system sometimes makes jumbo mistakes. And Karina too looked at her own board. Lucian noted that his board mainly showed numbers, but not pictures. From time to time it would draw a man in black robes. And since the board was green and the chalk white, it displayed the person using a sketchy type of style. Miko was being more deliberate with his tool. He was treating it like a writing board that did not require hands to work with. It was impressive the level of focus he had over his thoughts. Time?
1 minute 30 seconds.
Janos was a little bit frustrated with his board. The thoughts came and went like the ebbing and flowing of waves. Karina was using her board to daydream a little. The true uses of the board was to train people to vocalize their auras in order to be able to form an aria. With their enhanced psychic powers, the vocalization part was easy. The hard part was controlling one's aura. Shifting emotions and thoughts create quite the unstable world that could be a harm to oneself and others. The trains of thought were interrupted when Casimir entered the room. Karina explained to him the exercise, and he nodded in understanding. At the end of class, Karina used telepathy to take the boards from the students. She held them out for each person so that all could see what the other person was thinking. Janos' final thought had been quite murderous indeed, which did not inspire him much confidence. Time?
1 minute. Or less than a minute.
Oh well, so let's just end it here. Bye bye and God bless.